Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So before I get into what this video is about, I just want to do a little disclaimer. If I sound strange during this video, it is because I got my Invisalign trays a couple days ago, and they're causing me to have a little bit of a lisp, so that's really fun and fresh. Honestly, love that for me. Thankfully, this video is not about my teeth. This is a doll repaint. So, all that aside, I am doing a doll today that is inspired by or based on a painting. Specifically, this is based on Alphonse Mucha's Daydream. If you guys aren't familiar with Alphonse Mucha, he is definitely one of my favorite artists, if not my favorite artist. And I just love the style and the dreamlike quality of his paintings, and also just Art Nouveau in general is probably one of my favorite genres of art. This video is in collaboration with two other doll artists here on YouTube who also created dolls based on paintings. We have Dolleemixtures, who created a doll based on John William Waterhouse's The Lady of Shalott, and Fairiekin, who created a doll based on Vincent van Gogh's Tree Roots. They both have channels that I really enjoy, and I think their dolls turned out awesome, so if you guys want to check out their channels, I will link them down in the description box. Back onto my doll, I decided for a base I would pick a Barbie! I've never painted a Barbie, and I was really excited to, because Barbie is the OG, okay? Barbie is like what I played with when I was younger. Specifically, this is a Justice League Mirror doll, who in my opinion looks nothing like the actress, which is kind of okay with me because I'm not really crazy about Amber Heard. But anyway, she has a made-to-move body, and I don't know if this is because she's a collector's edition doll, but she is like stuck in her armor and her clothing, so we're gonna have to saw her armor off. I feel like I'm extremely late to this party, but I'm kind of shook by how like excellent the made-to-move Barbie doll bodies are. I'm really happy that they expanded the line recently, and I was super excited that they made a made-to-move Ken, but he is molded on hair, which is just kind of like rude. Like, why, Mattel? Why couldn't you just go the extra mile and give him some rooted hair? Anyway, back to prepping the doll. I took the paint off her face with 100% acetone, and I just have to say, like, this doll has one of the like prettiest Barbie molds I've ever seen. She also doesn't have the like giant open mouth smile, which I'm kind of all about. It's sort of hard to find a Barbie that's not like just cheesing it up. Like, they're all smiling. There's so many smiling Barbies. It's so hard to find a neutral face one. I tried to take the paint off her hands with non-acetone nail polish remover, and it did nothing. So we're gonna fix that later. Since I want to keep her hair because it's perfect for the painting that I'm basing this off of, I am just heating up her head with a hairdryer and popping her head off. We're moving on to the face up, so I sprayed the doll 3 times with Mr. Super Clear, waiting 15 minutes between each spray and wearing a respirator mask, and I begin sketching on her face. With a red pencil, I begin sketching on her eyes, and I'm trying to replicate the shape that they have in the painting. For this face up, I'm trying to do like a mishmash of my style as well as Mucha's style in his painting. And what I mean by that is I'm holding myself back in certain areas, but also adding certain things in that aren't necessarily in the painting. Like, I'm still giving her the skin texture that I really like with my face ups, but it's not quite as blotchy and discolored as I normally like to make it. The Barbie has really like nice pouty molded on lips, but the girl in the painting has really kind of like tiny pursed lips. So I'm trying to create the illusion or sketching the lips in quite a bit smaller than they are on the Barbie doll. I shade around the doll's face with pinks, browns, purples, and blues. With a really light blue pencil, I begin adding branch-like pencil marks around her eyes and her forehead to mimic veins. This doll has the teeniest of tiny water lines that I'm filling in with this peach pencil. I actually think these might be the smallest eyes I've ever painted. They're like super tiny. The teeniest of tiny eyes. The woman in this painting has green eyes, so I'm coloring in her iris with a mint green watercolor pencil. With my white pan pastel, I am adding the beginning stages of highlights to her brow bone, underneath her eyes, her chin, and her nostrils. With red pastel and a Q-tip, I'm tapping that onto the middle of her lips, and then I'm also taking a bit of black pastel and I'm going on the corners and kind of fading that into the red. It looks intense, but that's what she has going on in the painting. So, I mean, it makes her look a little moody. Maybe she's a moody Art Nouveau princess. I mean, relatable. With this tiny square brush, I'm giving her the beginning stages of her eyebrows with brown pastel, and her eyebrows are pretty thick, so I'm adding quite a bit of it. I add the final stages of highlights with a wet white watercolor pencil, and I'm just adding sharp lines around her eyes and also her mouth. I really love this step because I feel like she just looks very like dark. I mean, I added in those white lines of pencil and also the pastels, but this step just really brightens up her whole face. To highlight her iris, I take yellow watercolor and I just add a ring around her iris, but on the, the left side, I add some gold metallic watercolor, so it's like nice and shiny. With the sharpest of black pencils, I start sketching in the teeniest of tiny lashes on her lash line. This is a metallic rose gold watercolor pencil, and I shade the lash line with it. If you guys are gonna get one of these metallic watercolor pencils, I would get this one. I just use the crap out of it. Wherever I add hair to the face, I go over it with paint. So in this case, the lash line. I'm also going to be going over the pencil marks on the eyebrows. I just feel like this really draws your attention to that area because it's the darkest on the face because I add the paint, so it's going to draw your attention to those areas. To give her face that nice sparkly quality, I'm going to be giving her I'm going to be giving her tons of macro Pearlix pigment all over her face. So I came to a bit of a realization with this doll. Originally, I was trying to basically add all of the details that I normally do with dolls that have bigger eyes on this doll. And it made me come to the realization that that really takes away from the eyes. The eyes are just too small, and the details that I normally add look really busy and kind of, I guess they aren't as cohesive as with the bigger eyed dolls that I normally paint. So I decided to wipe all the paint off and do a more simple approach. I painted some dots of rose gold and white watercolors to the waterline. At this point, I did the more simple approach to the eye shine, so I just added a dot on one side of the eyes and then a line going towards the dot on the other side. I also just wanted to show you guys a comparison with this more simplistic approach for a doll for this like eye scale, because I actually did this doll on the right recently and I overworked the eyes, and I just feel like the Mucha doll looks better, to the point where I actually redid the doll on the right's eyes to make them more simplistic. And with that, her face up's done. I actually really like how it turned out, even if it is a little bit more, or the eyes are a little bit more simple than I normally make them. She's simple, but she cute. Moving on to her body, I painted her hands in the skin tone that she has with acrylic paint, and I also blushed her body with similar shades that I used on her face. I put her head back on and I covered up her private parts, because I've heard before that Heyeyeyeyeyey, when he's painted Barbie dolls, his videos have been claimed as like having nudity in them by the YouTube algorithm because it thinks that they're little naked people. So I decided to cover up her nasty bits because I don't want YouTube to do that to my video. Moving on from her tiny, realistic naked body, I am going to be starting her dress. So I'm taking this tan chiffon fabric and I'm gather stitching the top of it. I ran into a little bit of a problem with the top of her dress. She has this very detailed beaded like chest piece on, which is beautiful, but minuscule beads don't exist. I know, because I looked everywhere for them. So I actually consulted with my collab mates and they were like, yo, you should embroider it. And I was like, yeah, I should. So I did. This is my first time embroidering, so be kind to me. And I also didn't have like an embroidery loop or whatever it's called, so I made one out of a plate and teeny tiny clothespins. Along with having a extremely detailed beaded chest piece, she has an extremely detailed beaded, I don't know, sash or something on the front of her dress, so I also embroidered that. I figured that the embroidery would probably like rip up the chiffon that I was using, so I'm using cotton fabric that I painted beige, which, I mean, looks okay, I guess. Not really. It looks kind of crappy, but I sewed that in place with more embroidery thread. I then sewed up the back of the dress good side to good side. This is what it looks like on. Is it the most flattering dress? No. Is it what it looks like in the picture? Yes. I decided to take some artistic liberties and sew this gold ribbon all around the embroidered part of the dress. Since I didn't have beads, I wanted to decorate it just a little bit, the chest piece, so I took this upside down crescent moon and I hot glued that in place, and then a gold pearl in the middle. By the way, if y'all have not discovered the wonderful world of nail art gems that you can buy specifically on Amazon if you're me, it's a lovely world and I highly recommend it. She has these really pretty flowers on her dress and also all throughout the painting. So I took these nail art flowers that I bought and I am hot gluing them to the chest part of her dress. She has these like big kind of flowy sleeves on the dress, so I'm gather stitching the top of her sleeves. I hem the top of the sleeve so that you can't see the gather stitch and they have a nicer finish. The bottom of the sleeves also have this like really kind of roughly white fabric thing going on, so I gather stitched a strip of white fabric and I'm sewing that to the bottom of the sleeves. She has pearls on the top of her dress where the sleeves are, and I only have white pearls that are like tiny like this, so I had to paint them gold with acrylic paint. This is how her dress turned out, and I think it looks so stinking cute. I had like very low expectations when I first saw it on her because it just sort of looked like an embroidered sack, but I feel like it just looks really nice. Her dress is see-through though, so I made this like skin tight tube dress just to put underneath her dress. For shoes, I don't know what shoes this Mucha lady is wearing because you can't see them. So I just took the shoes that she came with and I cut off the top part of them and painted them gold with acrylic paint. I feel like one of the main themes of this painting is like flowers on top of flowers on top of flowers. And I tried to make paper flowers and they just kind of look like booty hole. So I took these flowers that I got off of Amazon and I am picking them apart and like peeling off some of the petals so that they're smaller. I'll link these flowers down below, by the way, because they're just a really nice scale for dolls and you can always pick them apart and make them even smaller if you have to, like I'm doing here. Because these flowers aren't quite the right color, I paint them with my metallic watercolor paint. In the painting, she has her hair up in a simple ponytail, so I am just pulling it back with some copper wire. With my hot glue, I hot glue just all the flowers to her head, as well as these little gold pearls that I found. One of my favorite details in Art Nouveau artwork is the swirly kind of like filigree that it has. I just really like it and I wanted to incorporate it into this doll's design somewhere. So I took some flat gold wire and I bent it into the shape that I wanted. I wanted this to look like she has almost like Art Nouveau filigree wings coming out of her back. To decorate the wings, I am taking the paper flowers and the nail art flowers and the gold pearls, basically everything that I put in her hair, I am hot gluing to these wings. I wanted the wings to attach with a magnet, so I'm hot gluing a magnet onto the wings. I also glued a magnet onto her back so that the wings could attach there as well. I'm going to be going over the hot glue with epoxy glue to make these magnets more permanent. In the painting, she's flipping through a book, so I wanted to make my girl a tiny book as an accessory. To make this little book, I actually followed a tutorial that I will be linking in the description box that was super helpful and can probably explain making this book way better than I can, so check that out if you guys are also trying to make some tiny books. The book that I folded was a little bit too big, so I'm cutting it down with scissors. This made it so that the book wasn't like held together anymore, so I actually had to go back in later with hot glue, so whoopsie daisies. For the cover of the book though, I am using craft foam. If you look at the book that she's reading, you can kind of see what she's looking at. So I tried to mimic what I could see that she was looking at by painting that onto computer paper with acrylic paint, which actually went better than I thought it would. When I was like painting it on, I was like, this is gonna be a nightmare. Because I mean, I don't think you're supposed to paint on computer paper with acrylic paint, but it went on really smooth. Your guess is honestly as good as mine as to what I am painting here, because I'm literally just copying what I can see in the book. I guess it's like, you know, it's like abstract art. Or, I mean, honestly, I think it's supposed to be some sort of landscape. The other painting is significantly easier to distinguish. It just sort of looks like she's looking at a painting of a flower in a flower pot. So these are how my little paintings of whatever the heck they are turned out. I mean, they're alright. I don't know. It's not my best work. For the front of the book, I just write the name of the painting that this doll is based on, as well as Alphonse Mucha. And with that, this lady is done. I love her. I might be a little biased, but it was just really fun painting a Barbie doll for the first time, and the made-to-move Barbies are, I mean, they're kind of like really impressive. I want to get more of them. It was also sort of cool painting a doll that was quite a bit more proportionate than my usual Monster High dolls. Not that I'm going to stop painting my Monster High balls. I miss their giant eyeballs because this was real small. These eyeballs is tiny little eyeballs. Again, y'all, I will have my collab mates linked down in the description box. Y'all should check out their videos. I just think their dolls turned out really cool, so that's linked down there. If you guys like this video, please like this video. Subscribe, it makes me happy. And I hope you guys are having a beautiful day. Bye!